was not the first instance that we've seen, unfortunately. According to Bescom's own data, there have been around 70 deaths that have occurred because of electric accidents since 2018. A total of 81 accidents occurring due to the snapping of conductors, the highest last year. 19 fatal accidents were noted in 2022-2023 due to these electric accidents. If you map the accidents over the last 6 years, you'll realize that there seems to be very little will to ensure that these instances do not repeat. So who's to blame for this killer apathy, and is there really any political will to end it? That's the big question we're asking here on this edition of Plain Speak. We're also taking your calls live. The numbers are flashing on your screens. Do call in, do share your views, do ask the questions. We will be your voice and we will put those questions forward to every political class in Karnataka of what they've been doing for the Aam Aadmi there.
ಗಲಾಟೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಮ್ಮ ಕಾಪಾಡು ಕಾಪಾಡು ನಿನ್ನ ಮೊಮ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಕಾಪಾಡು ಅಮ್ಮ ಅಂದ್ಲು. ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗೂ ಬಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ಗೂ 2 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ದೂರ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ನಾನು ರೋಡ್ಗೆ ಬಂದೆ.
ಉನ್ನತ ಹುದ್ದೆಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ
And who's going to take responsibility, because just a suspension is not enough. We're taking your calls live here on this broadcast. The numbers are flashing on your screens. You can also engage with us on social media, share your thoughts, ask your questions, and we'll put them forth to the elected representatives that join us here on this broadcast. Spokesperson of the BJP, Prashant GS, Satyaprakash, spokesperson of the Congress party, join us on this broadcast. But I want to begin by asking civic expert Vivek Menon. Unfortunately, it's the same story year after year, sometimes a few months after another. Why do you think that this keeps repeating irrespective of which government is in power? There are reports that come out, there are show causes that are sent, there are certain officials that face suspension, and that's the end of it. We do not talk about it until, unfortunately, another instance comes to the fore.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it. I think what has happened is, these institutions, especially the parastatals that we have in Bangalore, whether it's the BBMP, whether it's Bescom, whether it's BWSSB, unfortunately, one is, I just believe that there is no liability attached to any of this. The accountability and responsibility are two aspects of what one can, ensure that these officials follow. There is absolutely no liability. And more often than not, these officials are transferred. They go back to parent departments. And I think one of the problems is all that they're just so short-staffed. I think when I interact a lot with the engineers, executive engineers within these wards, see that they do not, on a regular basis, patrol these areas. They don't look for potholes. They don't look for live wires like this. And I think that apathy continues. And irrespective of which political party is in power, this continues to happen, whether it's the floods that claim lives, whether it's such incidents that claim lives, and this is extremely sad, because we as citizens of Bangalore are the ones who face the brunt of all of this apathy, whether it's political or otherwise. And I think one of the things that they need to do is to strengthen these organizations, strengthen these parastatals, and hold people accountable within these parastatals. What we have seen today is not the first; it's not going to be the last. This is going to repeat itself, just because, I've walked the streets of Bangalore several times. I've found pothole-ridden roads where, motorists can very easily just trip and fall. And it's the same problem. And I think one of the big problems that we're seeing within the city is these wires that are strung across. And I think, broadband companies, and several of the other, optical fiber companies are all to blame for this, because every tree has so many wires that one doesn't realize whether these are electrical wires or whether these are, cables. And I think there is a High Court ruling that says, and in fact, BBMP was also asked to remove all these wires so that even Bescom officials can at least find out, if these, if there are live wires lying around. Yes. And I think in the absence of that, with all these wires strung around, this is bound to happen.
But why do you think this happens? Is there lack of planning? Is there lack of foresight as far as these agencies are concerned? Or is there simply no will to do anything about it?
Well, it's all of the above. It's all of the above. In fact, I mean, when we designed Vittal Malia Road and then took it out to Tender Shore, we ensured that all of these cables were put underground. And there were absolutely no cables above ground. Now, I think that is the problem that Bangalore faces today, that there are a lot of cables, obviously in certain streets, in urban streets, you do need cables above ground. But at the same time, there has to be, engineers on the ground who are consistently and constantly monitoring these, making sure that, that transformers are performing well, that these cables are not touching trees. So there has to be coordination between these different parastatals.
Yes.
BBMP is responsible for tree cutting. They need to make sure that that gets done right. At the same time, Bescom officials need to actually, patrol these areas and check on a regular basis. So there is absolutely no forethought. There is no, when I say planning, probably the capex, the capital infrastructure is planned, but the maintenance is just not. And I think that's where the apathy lies. And in the absence of any kind of liability, I mean, when I say liability, it's criminal negligence. In the absence of that, everybody thinks that it's business as usual. Happens, yes, okay, it's going to find the headlines for the next 2 weeks, and after that it's just going to die away and go away. So I think officials themselves
Which is
need
why
to
we
take
need
responsibility.
stringent and stronger mechanisms that are put in place. Satyaprakash, now that the Congress is in power, will you change this? Because this is a story we see, unfortunately, irrespective of which party is in power. The BBMP, which is a civic body in Bengaluru, has been like one headless chicken for years together. Elections have not been held there for a very, very long time. So who is going to take responsibility? Is the Congress today willing to come out and say that, yes, we will make those changes required?
Poonamji, first of all, I would like to empathize with the family, and I will apologize on behalf of Bescom from the government side to the family that has lost 2 lives. While we apologize to the family and empathize, that doesn't stop there. We will make sure and put actions in place so that, no more lives are lost because of negligence of Bescom officials. Unfortunately, what has happened is most of the central district of Bangalore, the underground cables are there, and even the overhead cabling has been done, removing all the old style of wires. But I think since these are outskirts, O farm and all are outskirts, even though it is part of Whitefield, O farm and all are nearly outskirts of Bangalore, nearing to Adugudi and Hoskote. Maybe the work has not started there. Now we have to speeden this work so that we don't lose innocent lives. Okay. So once we do the cabling, and like Mr. Vivek said, we need to differentiate these cables. Electric cables should be given specific color, but I am seeing that even the electric cables are black in color. So we have to differentiate between the normal cables which are laid for optical fiber or other things, and we have to differentiate between the electric wires, maybe red in color. And second thing is, we need to know in the night that it is visible, we need to use some radium stickers on that.
Sure.
These are the things that we should do. We should not play politics over this. I know that that we have lost these lives. The government has gone on over the board and has fixed responsibilities on the Bescom officials as high as AWE and assistant engineer. They have even asked the executive engineer and superintendent engineer to give a report within 3 days that we take necessary actions so that we don't lose precious lives.
But unfortunately, these reports come in, there are deadlines that are set, but there's very little action that happens on those reports. And I want to get in the BJP spokesperson in on this as well, because even when the BJP was in power, we saw such instances come to the fore. Roads caving in, metro pillars falling on people, motorists, cyclists hitting potholes and unfortunately losing their lives. Like I said, some officials are pulled up, some officials are suspended, there are reports that are filed in, and then what happens to those? Where is the action?
Poonam, firstly, my thoughts and prayers with the victims' families. It's very unfortunate that a 23-year-old woman and a toddler of 9 months had to lose life because of negligence of the officials. On one side, we are talking about the negligence of officials. On the other side, you also have to look at governance. So and I'm saying this without fear of contradiction, that it's not that BJP was in power earlier. Prior to that, JDS, Congress, everybody have held powers. BJP has been in power for about 8 years, or the last 60 or 70 years here. But considering the rains that lashed Bangalore in the recent past and how the infrastructure has crumbled, and for the last 6 months, this government, which came to power on the plan that they will develop Bangalore, and you're talking about brand Bangalore, is doing nothing of that sort, excepting coming and saying that we have hauled up the officials and suspended them. Suspending an official is not the answer, because recently you had a QNX scam and that accused was made to go on leave. So it is not a case of politicizing the issue, but there is no political will in the Congress to develop Bangalore or curb out this malpractice which are happening. Because at no point in time they're owning up to the issue. They're only saying that we have suspended Bescom officials. That does not take away the negligence.
I have owned up the issue and I have apologized on behalf of the
therefore,
government.
the Congress
Unfortunately for the
government is
people of
equally liable
Bengaluru,
for
this is
because
exactly what they hear. One party promising, blaming the other, and that's just, unfortunately, it's a game of ping pong, and the ones caught in the middle are the citizens of Bengaluru, because nothing changes for them. I request you gentlemen to stay on with us, because we have some viewers calling in on this broadcast. Ramesh from Bengaluru is with us. Captain Jagdish Rath from Bhubaneswar is also with us. Let me get in the caller from Bengaluru first. Mr. Ramesh, go ahead.
Yeah, madam. Hello.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hello. Unfortunately, we are living in a worst situation in Bangalore, madam. 6 crores people are suffering for voting to Congress. They are not working at all. They are cheating by this guarantee funds of what they are distributing. None of them are getting benefited. Those benefited are all Congress working people who work for their party, putting posters and all these things. Otherwise, common man is suffering a lot. He says he is suspended. Next week, the same engineer will come back to his seat because that minister can take lot of money now.
And that's adding insult to injury. That's even worse. But Ramesh, thank you so much for calling in here and sharing your frustration. I am sure the panelists on this debate have also heard you, and hopefully they will ensure that they act towards ending this kind of frustration that we see amongst the citizens of Bengaluru. Captain Rath calling in from Bhubaneswar as well. Sir, this is, we're talking about Bengaluru at this time, but this is a pan-India issue. The kind of civic apathy we see is what we see in most metros, unfortunately.
Yes, madam. This is a pan-India, irrespective of any political party or anything. People are so careless. Basically, the government, electrical department people are so careless. They don't bother. I am electrical engineer myself. I have served in the Navy. When I work around in the city, different places, different city of the our in country, I find this type of casualness. Cables are hanging here and there, somewhere at time. Then nobody bothers unless somebody dies. Nobody questions that. Till such time somebody dies, then only think people start making noise. And after 2-3 days, everything will go down thereafter. This is a pan-India.
It's life as usual for the politicians and for the officials at these agencies, but life will never go back being the same to the victims who fall prey to this, to the family of this 23-year-old that we see here. Thank you so much for calling in, sir. Lakshman calling in from Gandhinagar as well. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, my issue is this incident should never have happened if BMC was active. I hold the mayor responsible for this. He's the head of BMC. He and the entire electrical department, the linesmen who is responsible for this, should all be suspended or dismissed from the service. That kind of action will only make people serious about their work. Right now, like you said, it is happening across India. That is because nobody is taking firm action. We need some very strong action in terms of termination. Then only people will realize the seriousness of this issue.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
fewer words, more action. That's really what we need as far as instances of criminal apathy are concerned. Bengaluru, and this instance is just the latest one. Unfortunately, we see all of this coming in from across different metros of this country. And all we taxpayers, all we Aam Aadmi really want is for our elected representatives to walk the talk. The promises that are made to us pre-elections, that is something that they should walk the talk on, and that's the best that we expect from our elected representatives. And I want to get in the Congress spokesperson, and one last word to you, sir. Do you promise the citizens of Bengaluru that this time around, this instance is not one to be forgotten? This will ensure that action is taken and something changes.
Definitely, Poonamji. This is a time when, even when our phone is not working, if network is not available for 2 minutes, we call a call center. Now I urge upon, Mr. KJ George and even the Bescom officials that they have to raise a separate helpline where the citizens, should be given, wherever they find any live wire or any electrical problem in their vicinity, they should call that toll-free number, and they should, the Bescom officials should solve it within 1 hour.
And
These
we
are
make
the
sure to
things,
follow up with the
proactive
Congress
things.
party in Karnataka to know if these words are actually translating into action. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of
Absolutely.
time.
We should
I
try
have
for
to...
it.
Quick rebuttal. Just
Yes,
a
sir,
quick
go ahead.
one.
30 seconds, sir.
Yes. See, we have no problem with fixing accountability for government officials. But to say that you will have a helpline and other things, firstly, you should ensure that there is no live wire on the ground. It's not about citizens noticing it and reporting it, because it is 1 hour, which means you are again giving up a scope for people to step
Sure.
on it. It should never happen. It's
Sure.
not a case of having a helpline,
Don't
but
play politics on
you should
dead
have a
bodies,
special
Mr.
code.
Prashant.
You should have a
Don't
special
play
code.
politics
Sure,
on
and
dead
this is
bodies.
something that
Of
really
government
should
officials.
unite all
Like
politicians
you
cutting
have a
across
special code
political
for
parties,
that's it.
because this is
MSS.
not a political
You need
issue.
to
It's
have a
really
special
about
code for
the
trying
people that you
public
go to
officials
ask for votes.
to
This is
give
the
your
taxpayer of the
privileges.
country, and we deserve better. But I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on this broadcast and sharing your perspective. Shifting focus now to the battle for Rajasthan, which is heating up. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a roadshow in Bikaner in Rajasthan just a few minutes ago. Remember, Rajasthan goes to elections in 5 days from now. These are visuals coming in from Bikaner. The BJP is hoping to oust the Congress party. The star campaigner of the Saffron Party, the Prime Minister, campaigning for them. A day full of rallies culminating into this roadshow in Bikaner. Aman Sharma, my colleague, joining us. It's the last leg, Aman, as far as the campaign for Rajasthan is concerned, and all top guns of the BJP are out.
Absolutely. The Prime Minister has earlier held 2 rallies today, and now he's doing this big roadshow in Bikaner, a major urban center of Rajasthan. Tomorrow, he will be here again in Rajasthan. He's doing 3 rallies tomorrow, and the PM will be doing a big roadshow in the state capital of Jaipur tomorrow evening around 5 o'clock. The Prime Minister really tearing into the Congress government during his rallies today, and that has been the theme of the BJP. BJP is fighting this election in Rajasthan in the name of Mr. Narendra Modi, as putting him as the face of their campaign, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi taking the lead in the campaign accordingly, and also the Congress highlighting the differences between Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot, saying that women are not safe in Rajasthan. The crimes against women have hit a record high in Rajasthan. The Prime Minister also referring in his rallies today to the Lal Diary corruption episode in Rajasthan, saying that the Lal Diary corruption episode will be probed. The various cases, various scams in Rajasthan will be probed if a BJP government comes to power, and a special SIT will be set up to study all the paper leak cases which have happened in Rajasthan. Close to 17 to 18 paper leaks have happened in the last 4.5 years in Rajasthan, which has in a way turned the youth in the favor of the BJP, and the BJP feels that the youth is upset with the Congress. These have been the themes of the PM's campaign in Rajasthan so far. And tomorrow, the big roadshow after this big roadshow in Bikaner, tomorrow we will see a big roadshow by the Prime Minister in the state capital of Jaipur tomorrow evening, which will, in a way, be a culmination for the BJP's big campaign in Rajasthan in an attempt to snatch power away from the Congress to come back to power. And BJP Rajasthan has always seen this cyclic change in power every 5 years for the last 3 decades. So the BJP fancying its chances, one, considering the history of the state of this cyclic change, and other, the anti-incumbency the BJP believes is there against the Ashok Gehlot government.
It's campaign blitz for the BJP. Prime Minister in Rajasthan, Union Home Minister Amit Shah in Telangana. Both states go to polls in a few days from now. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on CNN News 18. But with that, it's a wrap from my side here on this edition of Plain Speak. Thank you so much for tuning in.